Hello, good day everyone. Hope you can hear me well. My name is Sabari, Senior Vice President with RACNAP. Uh, would anyone just type yes on the chat window if you are able to hear me? Just so that I can be sure that I'm still audible to everyone. Perfect. Okay, that's excellent. Very good news. Everyone is able to hear me. Thank you. I know you all have busy days, so despite your busy day, having been able to spare some time to listen to this is much appreciated. So it's time to get started. Um, what I wanted to talk about today is how efficiently you can manage your support processes with your end customers when you are offering cloud services and what capability RACNAP as a tool offers in that area. That's what we're going to focus today. And it's very important now that cloud services are very commoditized. Pretty much everyone is now starting to offer one or other of these cloud services, and it's very important to differentiate. And the customer service is probably one aspect as well in terms of differentiation. And that's where RACNAP as a tool comes in to help you with that. Okay, so to set the context, what I would like to do today is to give you a broader overview about how you can offer cloud services and how you can manage the support aspect of the services what you're offering as well. Okay. So to give you a background about what RACNAP is, RACNAP is a end-to-end cloud services delivery platform helping to automate the provisioning of cloud services and help build them as well. Okay, and along the way, you probably will be having a number of back-end business functions you will be performing as a part of your normal business processes. And RACNAP offers a good amount of automation and management capabilities to do all of that effectively. Okay. And when you're offering cloud services, as you can imagine now, the offerings are growing by the day, and the demand for these cloud services is only going to increase by the day. Okay. So traditional IT service providers are converting themselves or transforming themselves, should I say, to CSPs or cloud service providers. And they need a tool to manage all of these offerings effectively, and RACNAP can help them with that. Okay. So this is a very high level overview about what RACNAP is all about. RACNAP offers a white labeled marketplace with which you are able to help service the needs directly to your end customers and indirectly via channel partners who can then subsequently serve the needs of the end customers. So RACNAP caters to the needs of a tier 1 and a tier 2 model. Okay. And as I mentioned, traditional IT service providers are transforming themselves to cloud providers. So these providers may already have been offering, VPSs, dedicated servers, WordPress hosting, reseller hosting, etc. And these hosting providers are transforming themselves and offering cloud services now, which includes Office 365, Azure, or Amazon, OpenStack, IBM SoftLayer, etc. So the one common theme across all of these cloud providers is they expect you as the CSP to manage the support aspect of it with the end customer, because they are far too distant in direct contact with the customer. So these cloud providers are not in direct contact with the customer. Their business model predominantly is around selling via partner channels, and they expect you as CSP to manage a support interaction, and that's where RACNAP comes in. Okay, and all of these services, whatever you are seeing here on the screen, are offered via RACNAP. You are not constrained by what you see here. You can still add a number of services yourself as well, and There are different modules which help power these services offering. For example, ordering module helps with bundling different products and services together and helps place an order. RACNAP can handle billing models, different capabilities whereby it can do prepaid billing, postpaid billing, pay-per-use, etc. And from a provisioning standpoint, it can do automatic API-based provisioning or manual provisioning, where you can control all of the provisioning aspect via a proper manual workflow as well. Okay, and very important that the end customer gets a full-blown view of all the services what he has purchased, and he gets that capability accomplished via a self-service portal. So he gets to see a single pane of glass view directly from the his self-service control panel. Okay, and then the primary scope of this webinar is to focus more on the support aspect of it, rather than using a separate tool like, for example, a Jira or a Zora or a Soho, a help desk or a Zendesk, etc. You can primarily use RACNAP to accomplish that capability. Okay. So I'm just going to run a quick poll to understand what are all the different products or tools which are being currently used by this audience in this webinar, just to get a perspective of what are the tools out there they're using, which would help us understand the breadth of and the popularity of these tools. Okay, so just to launch this poll right now, I think it should have come up on your screen. Just waiting for some results to come in. Okay, Zendesk and Jira, sorry, seems to be in popular use right now. Yeah, I think that there is also a fair number of people who are using, for example, help desk capabilities of WHMCS as well. Okay, so there's a good spread. So Jira and Zendesk seems to be some of the popular ones in this poll. So going back to this, so what we will cover today is we don't need to, or you as a CSP don't need to have a separate ticketing module to be able to manage your support processes. RACNAP can help you with that. It can offer, SLA management capabilities, support dashboards, knowledge-based management, whereby self-help knowledge-based articles can be defined, etc. as well. So RACNAP can help you with all that kind of capability. And then apart from this, RACNAP also has inventory management capability, leads till potential or opportunity conversion, from there to a customer conversion. All of that can be tracked via the RACNAP module. RACNAP helps with partner management capabilities around onboarding channel partners, assigning credit limits to them, etc., and helps you as business owners and service line executives to understand how your business is performing using BI reports. So to summarize this slide, RACNAP is an end-to-end ERP of cloud services, offering end-to-end capabilities from the time a lead comes onto your portal till the time he's converted to a customer and he's being offered the service and he's being supported. The end-to-end capabilities are supported by RACNAP. So diving into the theme of this webinar, we looked at how cloud services can be offered via the RACNAP platform at a very, very, very high level. Now let's dive into some of the capabilities in terms of what the customer is able to do in terms of logging a support ticket, how he gets his assistance for tickets from the CSP, from the service provider, and what tools the service provider has to be able to manage this as well. Okay, so I've just turned the slides currently now to the customer self-service portal. So in the slide what you saw earlier, we looked at the self-service portal which offers a single pane of glass view for the end customer. So here he has three different options. One is My Services, where he's able to look at all the services what he has procured, and My Support is where he can actually get support resolution for his tickets. And this is exactly the section where he will be going in and logging a defect or ticket from here. And then My Billing is where he is able to look at his invoices, etc. So as per the flow, what we will be going through, we will look at how a customer is able to log a ticket. So for example, the customer is going to log a ticket here like this, whereby the customer is clicking on Submit Ticket, and he's now looking at what are the services which he has purchased for which he is having a problem with. This is a demo account, so quite a number of services are in this list here. So typically it could be one of the services which he has purchased, which probably is on active mode, and here he's able to select the department where he is having a problem with. For example, if he's having a problem with his billing, then he can direct the query to the billing department of the team or to the support team as well. So if he's having a technical issue, then he can log it with the support team. And for example, there could be many issues with this particular server, and RACNAP actually helps with filtering the kind of issues what he may be facing, and then helping him to provide, for example, an appropriate resolution path. Okay, so for example, the customer has chosen that he has a problem with this particular VPS, where in that there is some issue with, for example, the cPanel which is installed on top of it, and here he's saying he's having some issues with the attack page, for example, he is loading slow, or one of those issues which is in here. So depending on the issue selection, RACNAP has knowledge-based articles built in already, and this is completely controlled by you. You as a CSP have complete control over what goes into these articles. So as and when your cloud offerings mature, as and when your support processes mature, you will predominantly be looking at doing root cause analysis for defects which your customers typically face. So in those scenarios, you are actually getting the opportunity to understand the issue types and find the resolution path as well. So the moment you find a resolution path, and if this is something which the customer can resolve by himself without coming to you, then you can update these KB articles or self-help articles which will get published here, which the customer can get use of and then resolve the issue by himself. So customer has complete control over some of the defects which he can resolve it himself with the self-service capability without having to approach the CSP like you. So this helps in bringing down call volumes. So as and when your idle processes are mature, or as and when they become mature, you will start to see a downward trend in terms of number of defects being logged, etc. as well. So that is something very, very important. And and also one thing on the right hand side you see is the number of ticket volumes, what you're seeing as well. So this is predominantly helping you to get a view of what is the workload with regard to support tickets being resolved, etc. So once the customer has submitted this particular ticket and provided all the relevant details, and here you can also templatize this ticketing submission, whereby you can probably templatize it to say application steps, and for example URL where the issue was reported, and the reporting time, etc., or the issue occurring time, etc. So you can templatize some of these and get the customer to submit a ticket. So once the customer submits a ticket, it comes back into your queue for you to manage that. So effectively, a very simplistic form to capture information from the customer regarding a problem, what he's facing. Okay, so no rocket science here, pretty simplistic in that sense. Okay, so now let's quickly look at how the customer is able to look at responses back from the ticketing agents, and then look at to see how he can post a reply and escalate it. So post a reply, pretty straightforward. The customer can post some replies in here. He can attach documents in here. And one important thing which I want to highlight is the escalation matrix, right? So RACNAP can define, a escalation matrix, and you can determine this and configure this in your platform for different levels. So duty manager, you can define it to say after 2 hours, this can be escalated to the duty manager. So there is automatic email triggers which are generated in the platform, which can be sent automatically to appropriate audiences within the organization when the ticket has breached the SLA. So here, and in some scenarios, the customer can directly escalate it. So whereby he goes and clicks this button, escalation emails get sent to the appropriate email group configured in the back end. And for example, these are different levels, like level 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this case, for example. So here, the customer gets to submit a ticket or escalate it to the support manager only if the resolution time for the duty manager has not been met. So let's say after 2 hours of the ticket being looked at by an engineer, it's not resolved, so it gets to the duty manager. After being 6 hours with the duty manager, it's not being resolved, then it gets escalated to the support manager, which means this button will get activated. So the end customer, if he's frustrated with the service being offered, then he can click on the escalate button here, and then subsequently another X number of hours, support this ticket will get escalated here, etc., etc. So that's how the sequence flows. So in no case you will find that the company CEO is receive an email in the first instance. So the RACNAP platform takes care of the sequence of escalations to be followed as per the defined process. Otherwise, it is normal human tendency to bypass all of these in time of need and go directly to the fourth line or the direct maintenance team all the time. This is pretty much important. Okay, and escalation, there is a question on the chat window. Escalation matrix takes working times into consideration. Typically now service providers are offering a 24/7 support, including weekend, etc. So it considers, the assumption is it considers a 24/7 support model. So the clock keeps ticking along depending on when it is put in, when it is logged, etc. Okay. So this is basically how the escalation matrix works, and you can configure this as a CSP in the back end. And if the customer has is satisfied that the resolution has been done for his ticket, he can close that ticket directly from here itself. Okay, so and he can go directly to the latest response from here, some shortcuts, etc., to see here. And depending on the categorization, for example, if you as a customer are expected to respond to X number of tickets, it's logically grouped here. If you're waiting for the service provider to respond, it groups in here. And if these are tickets which are closed, they group in here, etc. So depending on the categorization, the tickets are logically grouped for the customer to understand where they are, etc. So this is a very important way by which customer can log a ticket, etc., and get to find a resolution for it as well. Okay. So with that, we've come to the end of how the customer is actually able to submit a ticket and get a resolution from the service provider. Okay. Just want to run another poll to understand what are the typical support problems which you think are taking bulk of your time. I'm keen to understand how you are managing these kind of troublesome tickets right now. So just launched a poll right now, just keen to understand what are the typical problems which are commonly faced by you. Now, I always see a trend in this particular kind of poll. Yeah, I always find that there is one common theme here across many of the polls what we have organized so far. The theme is user education and awareness issues are typically the most noted ones, you know. So let me see if that is the case here as well. Yes, it's almost like a 50-50 right now between user education issues and two-minute tickets for generic issues. So that's the rough split between the two. Yeah, so effectively, customers always find that they're not able to maybe effectively operate the platform, or they're not aware of how to use certain things, and they log a ticket there. And you can help resolve some of those commonly encountered issues by using the self-help module there as well. Okay. And there is an interesting question about how do technicians log their time spent troubleshooting a ticket? How is that time billed to the client? This is probably which we are encountering this kind of questions fairly recently. For example, we are looking at doing some kind of an integration with Manage Engine, where that ITSM tool is able to log the defects, log the time there, and then we can pull that time in. But currently, RACNAP does not offer a ticket-based time spent calculation mechanism. Although there is a measurement of time being done, but that being converted to a build opportunity for invoicing the customer is not available right now. But we have been asked this question a couple of times. So managed service providers, they would like to charge the end customer on a time and material basis for time spent. We certainly can do that kind of development. We don't have that enabled right now to be showcased to you. Okay. But very good question, because the MSPs, they typically offer managed services on a T&M model for time spent, and yeah, it's important to have that, so we can build that capability if needed. Okay. So now I want to go back into showcasing some capabilities for example, um, uh, different dashboards which are available for the admins like you, and also how ticket module is configured as well. So firstly, let me start with how the ticket module is configured. For example, you can configure different ticket departments. It's pretty obvious. For example, these are different departments available, and you can add additional departments, etc. And for example, ticket statuses, you can also classify the state at different department queues, or support queues, as you may want to call it, right? And there is also capability whereby you can do some color coding to make certain tickets stand out, and all of these tickets will be the groups which appear in the main window. For example, this is the section where for example, the number of the categories in terms of ticket titles, etc., can be handled here. So for example, in here, let me just take the example of support. So in a support, let's say we want to add some self-help articles under the database section, then you put them in here. So under the database section, you can say or under the database section, you can say the customer could have something on an FTP, blah blah blah, etc. And in here you can choose different options, different sub levels, etc. as well. And in here you can add your content of how your resolution recommendation is. So you basically start with basically what is the kind of problem what the customer is facing, and then with pertaining to that problem, you offer recommendation on how to resolve this as well. So with this, you are able to completely control the self-help articles which I was referring to earlier. Okay. And then you can add different ticket categories, whereby you can understand which broader categories which the tickets could be assigned to. Obviously this will vary depending on your organization, and this goes back to the escalation matrix, which I was showing you in the customer control panel, whereby you can activate the first button as we saw it within X hours, second button within X, Y hours, etc., etc. So you can look at all of that escalations configured here, and that's how the escalations go to the property department. And this one is very interesting. This is a automatic ticket distribution master. So whereby when customers log certain tickets for certain products, then it needs to be automatically be assigned to the appropriate team member based on their SME skill set. So for example, you're saying that these are the 5 people who have knowledge on Linux support, who can support these product offerings. So which means whenever a end customer has logged a ticket for any of these products, it will be assigned to one of these people depending on their current workload in terms of list of issues, etc. as well. Okay, so obviously if they are already occupied with something else, they can reallocate it to somebody else, but RACNAP can do automatic ticket allocation, relieving you of, or your shift lead of the pain of having to manually do it every single time. So RACNAP can do it automatically. So that's a ticket distribution master in terms of automatic ticket distributions. And then ticket alerts raised by high profile customers. So RACNAP has capability to categorize customers under different broader categories, which includes privileged customer, premium customer, gold customer, etc., etc. So once the classification is done, you don't want that to be following sort of an L1, L2, L3 queue process for these kind of customers, because these are classified as privileged customer. They probably are procuring premium support from you, for example. So for those kind of customers, you may want to have a special support process for them, and you can get those emails automatically sent to these customers, these admins who will process those tickets appropriately. Okay, so that's everything with regard to how the backend configuration of the support module works. Okay, now let's quickly jump into the actual support ticket module, where the tickets are actually ending up in your queue. So when a customer actually submits a ticket, it actually comes to your backend queue and appears something like this. So this gives you a total number of tickets, open tickets, supply tickets, blah, 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 etc. The ticket unique number, which is in reference, and the subject of the ticket, and which department of the queue it has been sent into, who submitted it, etc., etc. So again, depending on whether you want to allocate this to a particular person, you can do an allocation here manually. And for example, if there are multiple tickets from the same customer, then for example, and if you think they are duplicates, then you can merge these tickets together, and you can delete some inappropriate tickets, etc., etc. So all of this capability will help you to manage your tickets in a more effective way. And for example, let's go into this particular ticket, for example, right? So here, this is the customer who has logged a ticket for this particular product, which is this particular domain website has failed, and he has logged a ticket. So if you see here, the moment a customer has chosen a particular product for raising a ticket with, the details of the service, what has been purchased, they appear on the right hand side, which means you don't need to step out of this screen to look at the details of the service. You can just look at them in here. The customer purchased a 1-year billing cycle, these are the DNS names used, and maybe from here itself you may automatically identify this DNS name service or not appropriate, etc. So with the service information, you can manage some of these things. And for example, you can raise or change the priority of the ticket from here. You can change the statuses of the ticket from here. You can merge them here, etc. as well. So and also this is another place where apart from this particular product, you can also look at what other products this customer has bought in the past, so you can look at all of these kind of information directly here. And if the customer is actually having a conversation in terms of chat windows with the CSP, then all of the chat conversations can also be appeared here, and all of this is done via live chat, and live chat information is actually doing that as well. Okay, so for example, there is a very interesting question about roles and privileges. Yes, RACNAP has a tightly controlled role-based permissions, so you can define tons of roles here. So for example, let me show you some capability there. So this is all the different roles what you can create. Again, this is totally customizable. You can customize what you can do, what you can't do. You can do a support head, support operator function, and also, for example, under support functions, you can say what each people can do. You don't want to allocate delete ticket options to somebody. You can give the option to create a ticket. You can move to different departments, which means you are assigning it a different department. You can assign it to certain person, etc., etc. So you can determine for L1 people they can do certain things, L2 people say can do certain things, etc. So the privileges are very granular enough, which actually will help you to manage your roles accordingly. So you can call this role as a L1 role, and then create a user in your organization, and then assign that L1 role to this person, etc. So it's very intricate role-based system available on the platform already. Okay. So I hope that answers the question about support. Going back to this again, for example, this is with regard to the support tickets. What we're seeing earlier, these are logged against different resources, etc., and the support team gets to manage all of that. Okay, so with that, we looked at how the customer is able to log a ticket, how you as a CSP is able to look at the ticket, where, etc., how you are able to configure your backend settings, etc., to be able to meet the needs in terms of how you want to configure the platform. And then last but not the least is you need to make some informed decisions based in terms of workload, SLAs, and all of that kind of stuff by looking at some kind of useful reports. So for example, this is a dashboard report quite readily available, which helps you to understand, for example, the total number of tickets logged so far against individual departments, what percentage is against what, etc., etc. So when you look at all of these kind of stuff, you can make some informed decisions based on this, and also you can run, for example, surveys, and you can also get to understand how much is the rating received and what is the percentage of them is in a reasonably satisfactory or above satisfactory range, how much are poor ratings, blah blah blah. So you can really understand quite a useful number of reports available to be able to manage this kind of info. And it's very important that this information is analyzed for any future remedial measures what you may want to make. For example, this is a particular ticket where the number of replies are exceedingly high, which means that the issue resolution is not happening at a faster pace which you want it to be. So which means the support ticket manager can actually go and start addressing that issue around why this is happening this much, etc. as well. And also this is ticket rating information to understand how many tickets are rated at what numbers, etc. as well. So you can understand that kind of info. So to summarize this slide, there's plenty of information available to be able to managed by the support team lead to understand the assigned pending tickets, etc., etc. So quite useful in terms of the depth of information or reports available there. Okay, so with this, for example, With this, we are able to conclude the three different aspects: the customers reporting of tickets, the administrator's point of view in terms of how they are able to manage the tickets, and then the last but not the least is the dashboard information. So that's pretty much everything what we wanted to cover today. So in a summary, let's go back to what we needed to conclude here. So if you want to have an effective way of managing your support processes, you need to give, probably, for example, a self-service module to the customer to be able to log tickets, so that you minimize the amount of time your customer service agents spend on the phone trying to resolve this, and you can escalate defects tickets based on defined SLAs to ensure that your customers are addressed with their issues on a prompt basis. You can categorize customers also based on support categories. Premium customers get a privilege, quick response, etc. And there's auto allocation of support tickets with the engineers, which will help you to have faster processing and easy information access for the services. So customer has had a problem with Office 365, he can look at how many licenses he has purchased, blah blah blah, etc. When he purchased, with that information they can find out if there are any issues with the service. And last, very important is, so we can look at performance reporting from a support perspective using chat, phones, and emails. Okay. I think with that, we're able to conclude everything what we wanted to talk today in terms of how effectively RACNAP as one tool is able to help manage support processes in an effective way. Okay. With this, I'll move on to a quick round of, for example, Q&A, which would help me to understand if there are any questions in what we have seen so far. I see a question about how are RACNAP queries customer satisfaction. I think I'm a little bit unclear about this request. Would you mind elaborating a little bit more, which will help me to address this properly? Yeah, in the meantime, please feel free to post any other questions. So today, as I said, we purely focused on RACNAP's support capabilities only. RACNAP has a much broader portfolio in terms of, the breadth of functionality, what it can offer. So that is something which we can do in terms of an alternate session, where if you are keen to look at other capabilities of the platform, RACNAP, I can arrange for a separate session one-to-one with you. Please write to us at touch@racnap.com, which will help us to take care of that. I think there's a question about how do you have some kind of a polling tool integrated. There is some kind of a poll mechanism available as well on RACNAP, with which you can get the ratings as well defined, and with that you can collect the ratings for the different tickets as well. Yes, RACNAP has a client rating tool as well built in. Okay, let's see if there are any more questions. Yeah, there is a question about how RACNAP is installed. So RACNAP can be installed on your premises and also in the cloud. So RACNAP offers support module as one of the part of the entire suite of capabilities. So if you are interested in offering cloud services, RACNAP can help you do that. If you are interested in managing leads till conversion to a customer, that can be done via RACNAP itself. And obviously I can very transparently tell you that there is no one platform which does everything which everyone wants. There may be some features which may not be there, which you may need. We're happy to discuss with you to understand what their needs are, what your needs are, to understand whether we can fulfill them in the out-of-the-box capabilities, or maybe do some customizations as well. So happy to listen to any of the questions or queries to understand if there is any other ask in terms of capabilities. Okay, maybe we'll give a last 30 seconds for any more questions. Otherwise, so we'll call it off for the day. Okay, I don't think there are any more questions. So thank you very much for your time and have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Uh, Bye bye.